So your mom is Dr. Heidi Schmidt, who's the
Yes.
radiologist.
She is a radiologist. Her license plate became iconic in my friend group from
Her-
a very young age.
Her car license.
Her car license plate, ever since I can remember, her car license plate has been I am the number 2 and then busy.
So you owe it to your mom that you became a hardcore gamer.
I had to figure out what is the best career path to completely eradicate my mom's career so that she'll finally stop checking her email when she's on vacation.
In one of our previous episodes, we had Dr. Elsie Wynn, who is a radiologist and also a mom. And we were looking into how they're complementary to each other. But today, we have Alex Roberts, whose mom is a radiologist. Now, this should be an interesting conversation.
Absolutely.
Alex, it's great to have you here.
It's great to be here. Yeah.
So what were your first memories or earliest memories of her being a physician or being a radiologist?
So I was always used to going in the hospitals with her, to her offices and whatnot as a kid. But I think the main
Also, even as a kid,
as a kid, I
you
was
were at the hospital.
Yeah, because the school ended at 3:30, work ends at 5.
Uh-huh.
So my mom would take a quick break from work, drive over, pick me and my sister up, and then drive back to the hospital and finish her work day.
Okay.
So my biggest the biggest memory I have from back then is always the dark radiology rooms, the reading rooms where all the lights are off, and I was always why are all the lights off? But I wasn't too worried about it as a kid. So she would find an empty workstation, plop me in front of a computer and be here, be quiet, have fun. I'll be back in I'll finish work in an hour. If you need me, I'm just in the other room. And I'm okay, cool. But these are radiologist computers. I'm not using your RIS. I'm not using any of the PACS systems at the time. But I'm a kid and I like computers. So obviously the first thing I want to look for is the games.
Absolutely.
But there's no games installed on these computers.
There isn't.
Except for the default Windows XP games that came. Your classic Wizard Pinball. I got really good at that one. I plugging headphones in there. Minesweeper and Solitaire got me into a little bit of a logic puzzle addiction that I still have a little bit. I'm a big
Minesweeper is a really good one. It's solid logic.
Minesweeper is pure logic that I swear no one understands the rules of. And it's one of those things that because my mom was a radiologist, I had to learn the rules of that really quickly because what else am I going to do? Minesweeper was the most fun game that was on there. So I learned quickly the rules of Minesweeper, and I would actually look forward to that time. I didn't want to be in school. No one enjoys that learning, but afterwards, I was looking forward to when my mom would pick me up and I'd go to work with her and I'd sit down at the computer and just immediately start playing. I'd run ahead of her to get into the reading room first so that I could find a computer.
You were racing her to the reading room.
Exactly, yeah. So that I could get the right computer that I wanted to play my games on.
So you owe it to your mom that you became a hardcore gamer.
Oh yeah, no, she's in middle school and high school, she's Alex, you're playing too many games. I'm this is your fault. You put me in front of a computer from a very young age to play this stuff. It's fun. I enjoy the logic, but if you're getting upset about the amount I play.
Being a gamer so young, that's had a influence on you because I see on your hand that you have a tattoo of a Nintendo DS.
No, absolutely. Yeah. So this tattoo kind of comes with a 2-part story. So the tattoo itself was initially a temporary tattoo of a Game Boy Advance with a little 8-bit smile on it that my sister had gotten me for Christmas from her job because she worked at a tattoo company for a while as a social media manager.
Oh, nice.
And I really liked it.
Business expense.
Exactly.
You're promoting her business. Amazing.
I'm always promoting her business, but I really memory wise and more towards my own heart was much more of a DS kind of person. So I actually asked her
you have your own card.
Exactly. So I asked her to redesign it herself for a DS Lite shape. And so she was able to, and I got that. But it really it boils down to I played a DS constantly as a kid. I always loved having it with me, a fun pastime to do wherever I was. And I know one of my favorite memories, especially with my mom around my DS, is that she was never against my DS playing. Obviously, maybe a little bit overboard at times, and she would tell me that. Very valid. But there were points where you know what, I'm tired, she's tired, and we're trying to make our way through a city or something. I'll be walking and playing my DS kind of head down, neck down, and she'll grab me by the back of the neck and kind of just steer me through the crowds while I'm playing my game. And I trust her, and I just I didn't even have to look up. I was just following her instinct. I mean, trusting her GPS skills, maybe not the best thing, but I knew she would get me where I needed to go.
Absolutely. Heidi has always been great at that, getting
Oh,
people
absolutely.
where they absolutely need to be. And yeah, she has shown that time and again. And now I know
100%.
how she trained herself
Exactly.
for that.
Yeah, she prepared herself. She learned how to get, two Riley kids to do the right path, kind of like follow their own direction, but like stay on those, good paths. I mean, my path was a little bit more of a straightforward one. My sister kind of like jumped from topic to topic, but we're both incredibly hardworking and come to a point where we want to achieve good things, not for like anything other than the thirst for like improvement and the thirst for more knowledge. And that's kind of like one of those things that we were shown, not taught.
Was that the influence of your
Like,
mom on you?
100%. Like seeing my mom, like obviously knowing her academic background is, a little bit of pressure, but the pressure is taken off surprisingly when you look at someone who succeeded in the past and then you see what hard work they're putting in for that nonetheless. Like it's like, a lot of times talent, success, whatever can go to people's heads. And then sometimes you just see someone who has talent, who has success, and who yet still never stops working, never stops pushing forward.
Absolutely. And quite a lot of times that is not seen by the people outside. They only see the success they have. They don't really realize how many hours behind the scenes they spent. And I think that you were probably privy to all of that, seeing behind the scenes.
A big thing, especially that was brought up recently, is like, Toronto traffic is awful. But, my mom prided herself that I was never late for school. My sister was never late for school, and she was always on time for work. Through all of Toronto traffic, like planning it to the minute, we were never late. And like, yes, maybe I was the last one to arrive of my class, and that was a little bit upsetting. Or my sister was the last one to arrive, and like everyone had already started talking and chatting, but we were never late.
That's amazing, because in addition to taking care of her work as a radiologist and the academic career and the various leadership positions she is in, all of which has considerable amount of work and stress, you're saying that she was great with you as mom, in which she was always on time, taking you where you needed to be.
More so than just that, it's one of those things. Is she was one of the kind of like the people who showed me how to pick your battles. So when you have a kid in school, obviously there's so many extracurricular things you could do as a parent, like variety of things like parent teacher conferences to bake sales. And my mom, she was always there for the important ones. Every parent teacher conference, she, heard every single one of my or every single one of my teachers tell me that I need to review more, that I need to talk less. She was there for each step of that. But, she found that her work was a little bit more important than, going to the bake sale. So rather than spending the night baking, she was like taking care of us, and then went to the grocery store, bought me some cupcakes, and that's what I brought to the bake sale. So it was a very much a prioritization of like the important things she was there for. But it is a balance still. It's still like something that you have to be able to like recognize what needs your attention and what needs your time.
And that can be really, really tricky.
Yeah.
So now you realize that your mom has had such an amazing and legendary career. But did you realize this when you were younger? Because there's quite often very interesting stories that come out. One of the stories I can think of is that in basketball, Patrick Ewing, Hall of Famer, his son, when he was growing up, to him, his dad was like just dad.
Yeah.
And his dad had friends. So Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, they were all like his dad's friends.
Yeah.
And then one day he goes to school and people are talking about the All-Star game, and they're like, oh my God, Michael Jordan was there. And he's like, yeah, that's just dad's friend.
Yeah, that's just my uncle.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. Like I never noticed it. Like I just felt like I felt a fairly normal childhood. Like I never felt like my mom's work was like changing or impacting, except for in one specific field. And that was my friends were oddly more respectful to my mom than any of the other parents. Like they were like polite to all the other parents, but like they were always like, addressing my mom as like Dr. Schmidt, like, and all these things. I'm like, what are you guys doing?
Did
and
your
I'm like,
friends come over often?
Yeah, no. So like my house in middle school, was the go-to kind of like hangout place after school.
Okay.
So like we had a place in school, like our mezzanine area, where we would all sit near the end of the school day, kind of like figure out what we want to do that day. And so my go-to was like always like if we were coming to my house, I'd just text my mom really quick, be like, hey, can I have some friends over? Some being like 8 or 9. And and my mom would be like, yeah, but I can only fit 4 in the car. And so like she was always like, yes, I will get the opportunity working, but there's only so much I can actually do.
Mm-hmm.
It worked out anyway because we put 4 in the car. 2 of them took the streetcar over to my house, and then 2 of them who were really competitive wanted to see if they could run there faster than any other group.
Ooh.
And it's incredible. Those friendships that I had and like really solidified through middle school and high school, I am still friends with them now. I've been in a fantasy football league with them for 10 years. I was down in California for 7 years and kept in communication. And I'm back and I was just hanging out with them last night.
Wow. I mean, that's just like a radiologist, in addition to every single work you have and your own kids to raise, she decided to raise everybody else's kids as well. It's like, come on over.
Everyone, she was like iconically known in my group, and everyone was speaking with her with respect. And honestly, for a while, I thought it was just because she was German. I thought, oh, okay, it's just like she has that like authoritative like personality in a sense. But no, it was just because they actually were able to, see from the outside and recognize the respect she deserved from what she had been, like what she was doing and what she was able to do. And it was so much so that her license plate became iconic in my friend group from a very young age.
Her car license plate.
Her car license plate. Ever since I can remember, her car license plate has been I am the number 2 and then busy. And it has been the I'm too busy. It has been the motto of her life since then. But it really kind of feels ironic at a point because yes, she was incredibly busy constantly, but I never felt like I had to say no to an opportunity. I never felt like, oh, my mom is too busy to help me with something.
Okay.
So that's why it kind of feels like the license plate was iconic for my friend group, but I never agreed with it because I never felt she was too busy for me.
That's amazing. I actually think that it might mean that something like I am too busy in the sense that I like to be busy.
Yeah.
I like to be too busy because I like to have my hands in everything. I like to do a lot of things. And that's something which is very fundamental, which you see from a lot of radiologists, in which beyond the work, we do teaching, we do academics, we do leadership. And then, as you point out, we have social circles outside work and take care of kids and stuff.
And somehow manage that in, 7 days with 24 hours in a day. Like looking back on it, like looking back on how stressed I get, like on my current life as like a young adult now. Mm-hmm. And then I'm looking back and I'm like, my mom did this at my age with like 2 kids and a full-time job and career and like also doing research and things like that. And I'm like, how do you like have time? I want to like go watch TikTok on the couch. Like,
did you ever want to, follow your mom's footsteps and become a doctor?
Oh, absolutely not.
That's what I was going to ask you.
Yeah.
Seeing your mom, you're like, nope, that's not for me.
That's not for me. No, but it wasn't specifically that. Yes, like the workload was crazy to look at, but it was also like I never had that biology kind of connection. I was much more into physics and chemistry and kind of like the engineering side, the knowledge side. Mm-hmm. But the more I like found out about my mom, the more I realized that was kind of her mindset too. Like I remember she was, as I went into engineering and coding, she told me a story of how she actually wanted to become a computer scientist at first.
Okay, huh.
And so she but her mom was like, no, you're becoming a doctor. And so
that's exactly the story of my life as well.
Yeah.
And we see that that's very common with radiologists because quite a lot of us, and most of what we do is strong problem solving.
Yes, exactly.
We use technology and then problem solving. So a lot of our background is kind of very similar in which I wanted to be a software engineer and here I am because of almost very similar.
And it's the go-to of like what medical field gets you closest to a computer?
Absolutely.
Radiology.
And I do think that problem solving is inherent to a lot of radiologists.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like radiology is like the front of it where you have to kind of like deduce problems from almost still images. Like you don't
The
have that
detectives-
interactiveness. You need to almost like notice the finest of details to actually like make the proper report.
I like to think that Sherlock Holmes in 1800s was a detective, but
Yeah.
now he would have been a radiologist.
Oh yeah.
It's almost the same thing, like wearing a cap, having a pipe with a lens, trying to look at tiny things and trying to solve
You mean like
problems.
the really deep black sunglasses, the classic like 2000s radiologist look?
Yeah, that would be cool. We should go back in time.
Yeah, exactly. Sherlock Holmes hat, radiologist glasses.
Radio's glasses, yeah. And like in terms of your career, now you're an engineer and
Yeah, so I have my degree in electrical engineering,
Mm-hmm.
and I've had experience working as a software engineer. I've had experience working as a data engineer at a medical machine learning company.
oh,
so I was
in medical.
Yeah,
machine
so
learning.
I ended up, diving slowly back into the medical field, albeit at my own pace, at my own technological pace.
Uh-huh.
And so I was a lot more focused on like the data, the coding and stuff. But the whole goal of that job was to basically develop a program to be able to scan images and like take in clinical information and then be able to predict outcomes. The end goal always being, I need to finally put my mom out of a job so she'll take a break. So like I had to figure out what is the best career path to completely eradicate my mom's career so that she'll finally stop checking her email when she's on vacation.
That's amazing. So all through your life, you're like, "Oh, mom, let's take a break," and we're like, "Yeah, she's not going to listen."
Yeah,
You know
I'm
what?
taking a break. Yeah. I'm just checking my email really quickly. Give me a second.
Absolutely. And I don't really know how she, as well as a lot of other radiologists, keep up with it because we are bombarded with so many emails and so many things to do
Constantly, yeah.
on the move, even while driving. And then, it becomes part of a day to even before sleeping, we just check our emails, sleep. And then in the middle of the night, if we wake up for some reason, you're like, "Oh, let me check anyways."
Let me check anyways. I can't go back to sleep unless I check my email.
Absolutely.
That is actually a quote I've heard from my mom. I can't go back to sleep until I've checked my email.
Oh, wow. And how's that going? Like trying to put mom out of business.
Yeah, so now I moved over to an IT position in the hospitals, and so I'm actually decided to go from like it's both a carrot and a stick approach. So I was in the stick a little bit, trying to put her out of business. Now I'm working in IT at the hospitals, supporting radiologists. So it's more of a carrot position right now.
Oh, so you're still supporting
I'm
radiology.
still in the medical field.
There you go.
It's like a black hole. No matter how hard you try and escape the medical ecosphere,
They
it'll
always
pull you
keep coming
in.
back.
Exactly.
Oh, wow. The prodigal son returns. And
Exactly.
finally, there you are. So essentially, you and your mom aren't that different
No,
after all, because even though you think you are, you wanted to go completely technology because you didn't like biology. But your mom took a different route. She took biology first, and then you ended up in that intersection between technology and biology.
Like, as a kid growing up, I always felt like I was going down a different path as my mom. I was like doing physics and chemistry, and my mom was like super heavy in like the medical field. So in my head, obviously, probably wrong, she was like very biology focused. So I remember this time in high school, I wrote a paper, kind of like a physics exam paper. It's a bit of a final dissertation for high school, in which I was studying how the concentration of sugar in water affects the polarity of light that is shined through it. And so like obviously a bunch of measurements were taken, and this took like the course of a couple months. But I was at that like, teenage year of, I want to do everything by myself. I don't need my mom's help for anything. And so like I didn't tell her anything about this project or this assignment until, after it was completed and graded. And, we were spending summer together at her mom's house in Germany, and I was telling her about my project finally because she was very curious the whole time, but I'm like, I'm not telling you anything until I finish it myself.
Yeah.
And
Don't want to bother mom with too much stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. So, but instead of like instead of like being like super like, oh, super interesting, super cool, she kind of looks at me like with a little quirk and is like, really? And she goes upstairs to her mom's attic and comes down with a paper she had written at the end of her high school on the exact same topic.
What?
On the exact same how the concentration of sugar affects the polarity of light.
Wow.
And I had no idea she had written this paper, and she had no idea I was writing my paper. And it was almost on the exact same topic.
That's
Only like
incredible.
25 years apart or something.
What a story. It almost as if you're sharing the same parts
Brain
of your
cell,
brain,
yeah.
same brain cell.
Oh no, I mean, and it goes to show that kind of like brain cell connection is still like alive to today. Both me and my mom like obviously love logic puzzles. I got mine from the early days of radiology of like Minesweeper and everything. But you know, like I got really into like Sudoku and crosswords. It's a relaxation tool. I like just doing it like while on the plane or watching some TV. And then I remember there was a time a couple years ago where like we were all sitting together watching a movie as a family, and I look over and my mom's on her phone, and I look at what her on her phone, and it's a Sudoku game.
Oh, wow. Okay. I would have guessed email.
No, I would have guessed email too. I'm like, oh, she's doing email again. No, she was just playing a little Sudoku game. And so now, like every time I find a new puzzle game that I'm interested, I show it to my mom because I know that it's the type of game that does the same thing in the brain for me that it does for her. And it's the same kind of like relaxation enjoyment from just that little bit of like brain stress.
Which is really what we do on an everyday basis.
Exactly, yeah.
Our everyday basis, a lot of people get stressed at their jobs. For a lot of radiologists, radiology gets us in a flow mode.
Yeah.
Because it is problem solving at its creative best. You have different pieces of puzzle which you're putting together every day.
Exactly.
And I think that we all love it, and that's amazing. And I think that that's kind of bled over to other aspects as well. And she's like, "Oh, I'm too good a radiologist. I need like more challenges."
I need more challenges. It's like it's not stimulating enough. I need something more to stimulate me.
Absolutely.
And those logic games, those little apps now, very accessible, are just so easily available and just like hit that right part of the brain that you can just stimulate a little bit more to like make everything else more enjoyable as well. And it's like kicks you into a relaxation mode. It's great.
Oh, that is perfect. I would have loved to, be a fly on the wall listening to your dinner conversations when you were young. And even now, like, was it about work?
It wasn't always about work, but I was always like a bit more chatty. I was always interested and kind of like curious and wanting to learn more. And my mom always like wanted me to learn more as well and pushing me. And my mom actually realized at a point where I was starting to get interested in topics that she wasn't super aware of. So like there was a point where I got into like kind of trying to discuss current events and geopolitics as like a 14-year-old. But I was like trying to like, I wanted to be seriously considered in the discussion. I wanted to have like an actual discussion. And so my mom was busy and, had her own fields of expertise, and we had our in-depth conversations within those. But she's like, I can't find the time to learn about all of these current events to be able to handle the interaction. So it was one of those moments where my mom found like a colleague of hers, and her husband was really into like world politics and was very aware of current events. So there was a time in middle school for a few years where she would actually she'd pick me up from school, bring me over to their house, plop me down for a coffee, and then she'd go back to work, and I would just chat and argue and discuss about politics for like 2 or 3 hours with him. And then I'd go home and meet her at home after she finished work and like kept up. Like she made it so that even if she wasn't able to like fulfill my needs directly of like stimulating my mind, she found the person who would. It always felt like no matter what I wanted to do as a kid, no matter what opportunity I wanted to try and find, she found a way to make it work.
That's amazing. That is very parallel to how radiologists we work as well, because in our in JDMI in like University Medical Imaging Toronto, we have about 100 radiologists, each of whom specialize in different things.
Yeah.
So although I'm a radiologist, if they bring me any question about the diaphragm, I'm like, I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
But I know to find the person who is the expert there.
Exactly.
So that's exactly what she did. She took you to the expert, left you with their care.
Left you with the expert and was like, you know what? I know you're going to learn so much more here.
Yeah.
So like, we'll do this for a little bit. And once you find like not whether you get bored of it, but once you find something else you're interested in or the next opportunity arises, we'll move forward towards that. It's always been about being available for every opportunity with my mom. That's kind of like one of the things she's always instilled in me as a kid was like, if an opportunity arises, take it. Like, be ready for any available opportunity because you never know what's going to happen. You can try and predict and lay out your life, but it's almost impossible to predict.
Absolutely.
Like, one story she told me is that like if she looks back on her life, every 5 years, she would not expect where she would have ended up. And she like broke it down by like the 5-year mark. Her life changes so variably over each 5 years that the only consistent thing throughout it is the hard work she's putting into what she cares about.
And saying yes to
every opportunity. Yeah. Exactly.
And then life it works in mysterious ways. It just takes 100%. Few places, which is kind of why often I find it a little bit funny when people ask, "Oh, what is your goal for 5 years and 10 years?" It's all good in paper, but when life progresses, things happen, opportunities come up, and you take it and run with it, and that's kind of
like. Let's say I wanted to stay in the IT field for a long time, and I wanted to climb the ladder. So if you ask me, like, where do you see yourself in 10 years? And I say, like, I don't know, director of technology at JDMI or something along those lines. And then in 2 years, I get offered a nuclear engineering position out in the suburbs of Ontario. I probably would take that.
Absolutely.
But that would not have been within my predictions at all. And so like the 5-10 year plan, it doesn't dissolve because the plan and the work put into it is still there. It just adapts. It moves with what opportunities come. And it's the mix of, trusting yourself, working hard, and being flexible enough to fit everything in.
Totally true. And are you interested in nuclear engineering?
I mean, who isn't interested in nuclear energy? But no, I do.
Because last week we had a podcast with James Cognac from the Bruce Power.
Oh, very cool.
So essentially they generate nuclear energy. But now, as a byproduct of that, they're able to utilize adding lutetium and cobalt into those tubes to generate nuclear isotopes. Which we use for imaging and treatment here.
Exactly. Yeah.
So as I was telling you, all roads lead you right back to
the medical field. No, it's everyone always talks about when looking through history about the arms races in history, all the weapons being built, all the like potential damages. But I like to focus on what comes with an arms race is always a medical race, because with every weapon created, it is what's the next technological piece to survive against that weapon. And so like the tourniquet, for example, as like the biggest like a big piece of medical technology that's really impressive and was developed unfortunately out of necessity, but also like equally in speed. And so like looking at it as we are looking at like energy, we're looking at like different forms of technology. And yet we look at that and we're like, how do we make this into a medicine? How do we make this to help people?
I think that you're right that at the end of the day, a lot of innovation and technology does happen due to necessity, and quite often necessity is sparked by unrest and war and arms race and stuff like that. But the good part is that there are a lot of people around who can take it and twist it into something good, and some good always comes out of it. They can
find the route to make the next piece of technology a healthy piece.
Absolutely. Yeah. So similarly, as we were speaking, we always manage to use something bad for good. And radiation radiology is exactly that. Like radiation has been vilified, but we're using it for good to detect diseases as well as to treat diseases.
Yeah.
But speaking of radiology, when you were young, how exactly did your mom explain radiology to you? And also, you had a lot of friends growing up. When they asked you what your mom did, how did you explain it to them?
No, it was difficult to explain, and it was difficult to understand as a kid too, because like I look at my mom work, and she's sitting at a computer looking at these black and white images all day, and I'm like, what? And she's scrolling, and they're like moving really fast, and I'm like, what is that? I have no idea. And so she was kind of like explaining the process of like, okay, so like you like showing me like an MRI machine. I've been in a couple myself, like she would like show the process of how those images are made, and then be like, okay, and now it's my turn to work on it. And so like her job was to look through the images and kind of like report any findings she has from the images.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like, it went to show for me that the piece of information and the piece that was most important for her job wasn't just the like, ability to read the images, but it's the problem solving ability to notice those differences. Like you mentioned the Sherlock Holmes before, it's the being able to spot out the obscurities, being able to, and that requires training, that requires dedication, that requires time. So, to my friends, I would usually just, she's a doctor that works on computers. Like she's a doctor that's furthest away from patients.
Okay.
She's a doctor that isn't bothered by the smell. But no, eventually I understood and was able to explain the term, like she's a radiologist. And people would, I always was surprised though, because, to me, radiologists are normal. They're people. Well, I don't know about completely normal, but they are people.
Fair enough. Yeah, we prefer the darkness.
But I remember when I went to university and I started meeting new friends and I started talking about my family and stuff. And they'd be like, "Oh, what do your parents do?" And I'm like, "Oh, my mom's a radiologist." And they'd be like, "Really? Wow." And I'm like, "Is it that impressive, really?" But no, it kind of like opened my eyes a little bit to be like, this is such a bigger and more impressive field than I was aware of. And so like, after a little bit of time apart and I'm like looking more into it, like I look back and I'm like, wow, that is a really difficult job, like looking into what it takes to get into radiology and what it takes to really like progress through that field. And I'm like, I mean, it looked easy from the way my mom was doing it. So
yeah, your mom made it look too easy for you.
Exactly, yeah.
To think about it in a different way, let's say you have a car, you want to find out what's wrong with it, and you take it to a mechanic. The first thing he does is, okay, switch off the car. Then let's take it out and then figure it out. Whereas in radiology, you can't do either of them.
Yeah.
The patient's still going to be breathing and stuff, and you can't just open to figure it out. Exactly. So you're just looking from outside to try and diagnose the problem.
Use as much technology as we have possible to get a better and better look of the inside.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you're telling me that growing up, you weren't super impressed with your mom being a radiologist because it seemed normal to you. Was there ever a time that you were actually impressed?
Yeah, I have to say there were one or two occasions where I'm like, okay, this might be like a little bit of a big deal. I remember when I was very young, my mom woke up early and was being interviewed on the news. And obviously, me and my sister were like 6 and 7 at the time, so we couldn't be left alone, and we had school later that morning.
Okay.
And my mom had work later that day. So we all woke up really early and we went to the news studio, and I remember seeing my mom get interviewed in front of a green screen.
Oh.
And I remember the cool part for me.
This was quite a while ago, though.
Oh, yeah. No, but I remember the cool part for me was seeing the green screen and then seeing on one of the TVs the actual background that they like edited over.
Oh,
and as a kid, I had no idea what they were doing. I'm like, where's that screen? Wait, how did they do that? And it kind of like started getting me questioning and started getting me asking. And I'm like, oh, okay. But that like, I don't think I really understood the exact like prevalence of being interviewed on the news. I thought that was like really interesting too. Like, kind of like cool to see that like other people want to know more about what my mom's doing.
So seeing your mom as a celebrity and seeing her status as a radiologist and how respected she was with people outside the medical field, with your friends and everybody, did that put a lot of pressure on you?
Honestly, no. It was...
Or did that drive you to greater heights?
What it showed me and what it drove me to, and I'm sure to my mom's dismay, is it like almost lit a fire inside of me to want to know more and want to constantly ask more questions and understand things more. And, you know, that's great, like from a textbook perspective. But if you've ever tried to tell a kid because I say so, and he comes back at you with why? But why? Like, explain it to me. Like, look how smart you are. Explain it to me. I want to understand. I want to know more. And so, like, I'm sure she was like a little bit deep down, like impressed and happy that I was constantly so curious. But on the surface, being like, Alex, just stop.
Oh yeah, so you gave it a tough time.
Oh, absolutely. I always wanted to know a little bit more.
Amazing. And if you were to give advice or tell other kids of radiologists, what would you like to tell them?
Honestly, I think radiologists are some of the busiest and most hardworking individuals, but you should not give them any slack for that.
Oh, well, I don't think anybody does in the hospital. And yeah, neither should the kids. Yeah. Like, and the best part is that we love being challenged
Oh yeah.
and we take it with,
Oh,
like, roll up our sleeves.
my,
We're like, yeah.
my sister, I remember, would have to leave the rooms at times because me and my mom would get into a discussion that would like get heated enough to become an argument. And my sister's like, I don't want to be in this right now. I'm going to go to my room. And then me and my mom would still keep discussing and arguing the topic for like another like 30 minutes and then be like, where'd Melissa go?
Yeah. So I think that very well summarizes everything that we know about radiologists. One of the stereotypes of radiologists is that we love dark rooms. We aren't very social people. We don't like talking to people and stuff like that. But what we know radiologists are that we are incredibly passionate individuals. As you point out,
Absolutely, yeah.
with an insane work ethic, able to juggle so many things at the same
And
time.
keep everything moving forward correctly. Like all the different
Seamless.
avenues you're trying to, push forward in, like socially, family, work, career-wise, being able to balance, stabilize those and still push them forward and still progress them forward is like awe-inspiring.
That's amazing. And one last thing is that we're amazing at problem solving. And we have always continued to.
Yeah, but I'm still a better problem solver than my mom. I stand by that.
Well, we agree to disagree on that. And I actually think that if radiologists, with our problem solving skills, and we have continued to solve problems in diagnosis and medical imaging for a long, long time.
Yeah.
And if we were there in many other aspects of geopolitical issues, we might be able to solve problems much better.
Yeah.
That's what I'd say. So,
I completely agree. I think the problem-solving skills shown within radiologists are definitely top class.
thank you very much, Alex. It was a pleasure having you here.
It was great being here. Thank you for having me.
Amazing.